So you guys want a drink? What are we drinking? Well, I got beer, tequila, all sorts of things. Buddy, you all right? Yes, I'm fine. Why? Don't I look all right?
You look like melted ice cream.
Hey there, it's Mark, and welcome to a thunderous new episode of RT Essentials. Marvelians and true believers rejoice because it's hammer time. And no, we're not talking about parachute pants and side shuffles. I'm talking about the all-powerful, storm-commanding, Mjolnir-wielding, Asgardian superhero himself, Thor Odinson. Please, Thor, don't hurt him. He's the god of thunder, some of the All-Father Odin, and in many comics, he's Harvard medical student turned physician Dr. Donald Blake. Imagine having to tell a guy who controls lightning that you want a second opinion. Yikes. Marvel's Thor is based on the Norse deity of the same name, and the character's popularity has only accelerated with Chris Hemsworth's portrayal in the MCU films. So far, Hemsworth has starred in the Thor features, the Avengers movies, and Doctor Strange. So many films, so many captivating moments. Let's take a look at the jewels in the Prince of Asgard's crown. These are our selections for the best Thor scenes of all time. Thor is unworthy, Thor. Starting with Thor is Unworthy from 2011's Thor, the first of the character's solo features and the fourth movie in the MCU. This installment was directed by Sir Kenneth Branagh. Yes, he was knighted, which is about as close as you can get to being a superhero in real life, and in addition to Hemsworth, starred Natalie Portman as Jane Foster and Tom Hiddleston as Thor's troublesome brother, Loki. A little plot rundown is in order for those who aren't familiar with the movie, though it's been over a decade, so come on, hurry up. You're moving at whatever is the direct opposite of light speed. Back to plot. Thor is in line to inherit the throne of Asgard from his aging father Odin, but on the day he's meant to be crowned, he reignites a war and is banished to Earth. Thor is stripped of his powers, and more relevantly, his hammer Mjolnir is now protected by a spell that only allows the worthiest of the worthy to wield it. And that, my friends, brings us to our scene. Thor discovered that Mjolnir is being held at a shield facility, so he breaks in and delivers some Chuck Norris-level beatdowns to opposing agents. That one slow-mo dropkick in the mud is bonkers. Unbeknownst to Thor, Agent Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, looks on from a distance, bow aimed, awaiting orders from high-ranking Agent Coulson to take Thor out. But Coulson orders Hawkeye to hold off because he wants to see if Thor actually is worthy of retrieving the mighty hammer. And as I'm sure you've deduced based on the scene title, Thor is in fact unworthy. The hammer won't budge no matter how hard he pulls, and our superhero looks to the sky, crying out to the heavens as the rain pours down. You get some real Shawshank Redemption vibes here. It was Thor's recklessness and arrogance that deemed him unworthy, but many MCU characters have also tried to wield Mjolnir and suffered the same rejection, including Tony Stark, Hawkeye, and Hulk. Don't be so sensitive, Thor. The hammer's got high standards. Putting the hammer down, the Avengers.
You listen well, brother.
I'm listening.
Do not touch me again.
Then don't take my stuff.
Next up is Putting the Hammer Down from the first Avengers film released in 2012. This one helps to shed some light on the much debated topic of who would win in a fight between Thor and Iron Man. That's right, things weren't always peachy between the two superheroes, and you can thank Loki for that. Come on, who else? He's the prince of drama. And in this scene, Iron Man intends to corner Loki and make him hand over the Tesseract, an energy cube that holds unlimited power. But Loki and Thor have raised the stakes of what sibling rivalry looks like. Those two are just relentless, and this is one of those, hey, nobody picks on my brother except me moments. And while Thor is pleading with Loki to give up the Tesseract and his poisonous dream, Iron Man comes out of nowhere, smashing into Thor and sending him crashing through the forest, demanding that he stay out of it. Obviously, Thor doesn't like that, so the two start fighting almost immediately as Loki looks on, smirking from afar. Thor uses Mjolnir to harness the lightning and strikes Iron Man, but that magic metal suit actually retains the lightning's power, and Iron Man sends it right back to Thor.
400% capacity.
How about that?
More fighting ensues, and Thor actually drops the hammer at one point, going full-on fisticuffs with Mr. Stark. But just as Thor regrips Mjolnir and intends to strike down Iron Man, Captain America appears and breaks up the fight. And this is when Captain America asks Thor to prove that he's actually there to stop Loki by putting the hammer down. As Iron Man points out, that's a bad call, and Thor leaps into the air to strike down Captain America, who thwarts the hammer's blow with his shield. Okay, so this is also somewhat of a debated topic. Why wouldn't Mjolnir just shatter Captain America's shield immediately? Well, some believe that Thor's powers were weakened by dark energy in this film. Others believe that Thor was going easy on Cap because he only intended to subdue him, and some believe that the vibranium shield is in fact strong enough to handle the force of the hammer. One thing's for sure, it was a really spectacular scene. Thor versus Surtur, Thor Ragnarok.
Odin is not on Asgard, and your absence has left the throne defenseless.
Okay, so where is it, this crown?
This is my crown, the source of my power.
Oh, that's a crown. I thought it was a big eyebrow.
It's a crown.
How did director Taika Waititi manage to make the Thor vs. Surtur battle in Ragnarok even more epic? He added a Led Zeppelin song. And not just any Led Zeppelin tune, one that specifically references Norse mythology and features lyrics like Hammer of the Gods and Valhalla I Am Coming. It's like Led Zeppelin wrote the song for the movie, even though the song came out about 50 years prior. For those unfamiliar with Surtur, he's a giant fire demon and the ruler of Muspelheim, one of the 9 realms. He's not unlike a Balrog for all of my Tolkienites out there. By the time Surtur and Thor faced off at the beginning of Ragnarok, Surtur was weakened due to his power source, the Eternal Flame, being taken from him by Odin and sent back to Asgard. At the beginning of this sequence, Thor is imprisoned by Surtur within Muspelheim.
You cannot stop Ragnarok. Why fight it?
Because that's what heroes do. Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't time that right.
But Thor soon calls upon Mjolnir and breaks free of his chains, then pretty much pulverizes Surtur's surrounding fire demons. This leads Surtur to use his Twilight Sword and launch flames at Thor, who's able to block them. Thor then launches his hammer at Surtur several times before unleashing one final lightning-charged blow to Surtur's head, which seemingly kills the giant demon and removes his crown for Thor's taking. Spoiler alert, this is not the last we'd be seeing of Surtur, not by a long shot. Waititi himself provided the motion capture performance for Surtur, and actor Clancy Brown supplied the character's voice. But you can thank frequent Marvel collaborator Method Studios, based out of Vancouver, for rendering the stunning VFX for this entire scene. Thor meets the Guardians, Avengers Infinity War.
How the hell is this dude still alive?
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man. A handsome, muscular man.
I'm muscular.
But who are you kidding, Quill? You're one sandwich away from fat.
Worlds collide when Thor meets the Guardians in Avengers Infinity War, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. Our favorite band of comic outlaws are gliding along on their ship, the Benatar, singing the tune The Rubber Band Man by the Spinners. Well, it's mostly Star-Lord and Gamora lip-syncing, and the others just kind of over it. Still, don't be mistaken, this isn't just some casual karaoke cruise through space. The Guardians are responding to a distress signal that came from an Asgardian ship. As the Benatar reaches its destination, the crew is shocked to discover that there's no ship, only a sea of floating debris and bodies, with Star-Lord muttering the words, "Oh my God," in response to the devastation. And that's when Thor, who is drifting through space unconscious, smashes into Benatar's windshield, startling the crew. The Guardians take Thor in and wake him, well, not before some lighthearted banter about Star-Lord having packed on a few pounds. The recent strangers soon realize they share the common goal of stopping Thanos.
You seem to know a great deal about Thanos.
Gamora is the daughter of Thanos.
Your father killed my brother.
Oh boy. Stepfather. Technically, she hates him as much as you do.
Families can be tough.
This chance encounter was a clever way to bring the Avengers and the Guardians together, but this wasn't always the intention. According to Guardians of the Galaxy director and writer James Gunn, the Guardians were only supposed to have a cameo in Infinity War, but by the time Gunn was writing Guardians Volume 2, their role had become something more. It's hard to imagine what Infinity War would have looked like without the Guardians, since they became an integral part of the plot following this encounter with Thor. Gunn even helped to craft this one scene, ensuring that the tone and personalities of the characters were honored. He's kind of like the Guardian of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Going for the head, Avengers Infinity War / Endgame.
You should have gone for the head.
We all know Thor regretted not going for the head in this one scene toward the end of Infinity War. The Mad Titan had finally gathered all the Infinity Stones and placed them within the gauntlet and was ready to snappily snap his fingers and subsequently exterminate half of all living things in the universe. That's a lot of catastrophe to come out of one snap, by the way. I feel like you should have had like some rhythm snaps, or at least snap a few of those bars from Queen's Under Pressure. Something more challenging, but it was just one snap and death for half the universe. Considering the stakes, you can understand why Thor comes crashing down from the sky, stabbing Thanos in the chest. You'll notice the weapon he's using isn't Mjolnir, it's actually Stormbreaker, an enchanted axe forged from Uru, an all-powerful metal. More on Stormbreaker later. As Thor looks Thanos in the eyes, he reminds him that I told you you'd die for that, and then further digs his axe into Thanos' chest, who cries out in agony. Thanos can barely speak, but he musters the energy to deliver one of his most iconic lines, and one of the most iconic lines in any MCU movie. You should have gone for the head. And then Thanos snaps, blip complete, snapshot fulfilled. Now, this scene begs the question, why would Thor, a tried and true warrior with 1,500 years of experience, not realize that the most effective way of killing someone as dangerous as Thanos would be to go for the head? Come on, Thor, what's snapping with you? According to director Joe Russo, Thor let his emotions get the best of him, and he was too caught up on getting revenge and having Thanos know that it was he, Thor, who stopped him. But don't worry, in Endgame, Thor does get his revenge when he, spoiler alert, chops off Thanos' head and delivers one of his most iconic quotes, "I went for the head." Fat Thor, Avengers Endgame.
Thor, he's back. That kid on the TV just called me a again.
Noob Master.
Yeah, Noob Master 69. Called me a
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. You know, the God of Thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm gonna fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt!
We all go through rough patches now and again, although it's usually not because we recently failed to stop a tyrant from killing off half the universe, as we just talked about in the previous scene. Yes, Thor has much to be sad about following the events of Infinity War. The Asgardians have been attacked, his brother Loki is dead, he should have gone for the head. Can you blame the guy for falling into a depression and transforming into Fat Thor that we meet in Avengers Endgame? Hulk and Rocket are pretty concerned to find him in this state when they travel to New Asgard, aka Tonsberg, to recruit him for their mission. Thor is bitter and he's drinking way too much, even using Stormbreaker as a beer bottle opener. I guess it beats the lighter trick. Yes, Thor is clearly in a dark place, and Hulk's mention of Thanos gets him angry and emotional, though wounds are still very much open. It's unfortunate, but let's all be honest for a sec. Fat Thor is kind of amazing. He dresses like the dude, he's carefree, baggy clothes, sunglasses inside. Tony Stark even calls him Lebowski at one point. So come on, you'd want to hang out with that dude, right?
Thor, what do you know?
Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Hemsworth admitted that he enjoyed playing this version of Thor, saying that it was so different than any other way he played the character, and that it took on a life of its own. And further stated that when he first read the script, he loved the fact that Thor went, "This is who I am, this is how I'm feeling, and this is what I'm doing." Hemsworth had to wear a 60-pound fat suit while shooting these scenes, and that was before any layers of clothing or battle armor. As we know, Fat Thor will be in Love and Thunder, but briefly, as he apparently transforms from dad bod to god bod as quick as we all hope we would. Thor vs. Hulk, Thor Ragnarok.
Banner. Hey, Banner.
No Banner, only Hulk.
What are you doing? It's me. Thor.
This who would win in a fight debate is among favorites for MCU fans, and Thor Ragnarok gave the people what they wanted to see. I'm of course talking about Thor versus Hulk, and yes I know, why does Thor keep fighting people that are supposedly on his side? There's always a reason, often a long-winded one, but in this scene, even Thor himself appears to be caught off guard by the confrontation. You can tell because he's smiling and saying, "Hey Banner, hey Banner," you know, excited to see his friend, but Hulk doesn't like this and insists that he's only Hulk. Hulk attacks Thor, smashing him into the arena wall, then throwing his hammer, nearly missing Thor's head. Then Thor manages to grab the hammer and hits Hulk as hard as he charges at him. Why would you let Thor get a hold of a hammer? That's like throwing a lightsaber to Luke Skywalker.
I won't hurt you anymore. No one will.
That's how it feels!
I'm just a huge fan of the sport.
Notice anything different about Thor in this scene? Yes, he's missing his luscious golden locks. That's because the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum, had taken Thor prisoner and demanded that his hair be cut before the gladiator-style combat. Fans were absolutely devastated by this choice. Let me give you some actual examples of article titles in response to this decision. Help, where has Thor's hair gone? Thor cut his hair in Ragnarok and fans cannot deal. And my personal favorite, why Thor? Oh, I'm sorry, I got distracted by Thor's missing mane. Did I forget to answer the burning question, who wins the fight? I guess you'll have to find out when you watch Thor Ragnarok. Thor is worthy. Avengers Endgame.
You're not the Thor I know at all, are you?
Yes, I am.
The future hasn't been kind to you, has it?
I didn't say I was from the future.
I was raised by witch's boy. I see with more than eyes, you know that.
I am totally from the future.
Yes, you are.
I really need to talk to you.
We can talk.
Having gone through such hardship in Infinity War, it's nice to see Thor have a moment of redemption with the Thor is worthy scene from Endgame. Thor travels back in time to meet his mother Frigga in Asgard, and what follows is one of the most heartwarming exchanges in any MCU film. But first, a little backstory. Since the Avengers had failed to stop Thanos from retrieving the Infinity Stones and carrying out the blip, there was little they could do. Especially since Thanos had destroyed the Infinity Stones after the blip, which we learn at the beginning of Endgame. The only option is go back in time and acquire the stones before the Mad Titan can get his hands on them. And this is where the time heist plot gets introduced. You know, because a movie with 50,000 lead characters isn't complicated enough, so you should definitely throw time travel into the blender. These details help explain how and why Thor ends up visiting his mom in the past. Him and Rocket are there to retrieve the Reality Stone, and if that isn't heavy enough, this happens to be on the day that Frigga dies. You can understand the emotional gravity of their encounter. Thor tries to conceal that he's from the future, but Frigga knows right away, and she embraces her son, saying, "You're not the Thor I know at all, are you?" Thor then breaks down about his failures, and instead of Frigga lecturing him, she listens without judgment. She comforts Thor by telling him that everyone fails at who they're supposed to be, but the measure of a hero is how well they succeed at being who they are.
I love you, Mom.
I love you. And eat a salad.
Come on, we gotta go. 3, 2...
No, wait!
What am I looking at?
Oh, sometimes it takes a second.
Thor's failures have left him feeling unworthy up until this moment, so when he calls for Mjolnir, and to his surprise the hammer answers, it's especially powerful. Thor is once again, unlike Wayne and Garth, worthy. Thor helps forge Stormbreaker, Avengers Infinity War.
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of a star. It'll kill you.
Only if I die.
Yes, that's what killing you means.
As we mentioned earlier, Stormbreaker is an axe that holds tremendous power, and it's also a pretty capable bottle opener. Thor needed a new weapon after Mjolnir had been destroyed, so him, Rocket, aka Sweet Rabbit, and Groot traveled to Nidavellir, one of the 9 realms and the home of the dwarves. There they meet Eitri, king of the dwarves, who is angered that Thor and Asgard didn't defend his people in their hour of need. But Thor explained that Asgard was also destroyed, and if they worked together, they could kill Thanos. So, Eitri retrieves the mold for Stormbreaker, the most powerful weapon ever imagined, one that could theoretically summon the Bifrost Bridge, which allows instantaneous travel within the 9 realms. Unfortunately, they need to reawaken a dying star to ignite the forge, but the mechanism required to do so is broken, so Thor chooses to operate the Iris himself. Eitri warns him that this could certainly mean death, but he proceeds anyway. Thor releases the energy into the forge and gets severely wounded in the process, but Eitri manages to break the mold open and the pieces of the axe are revealed.
Thor, say something. Come on. Thor, you okay? I think he's dying.
He needs the axe. Where's the handle?
This is when Groot merges the axe and chops off his own arm to serve as the weapon's handle. Welcome to the MCU Stormbreaker. In case you're wondering, MCU creators and fans have concluded that Stormbreaker is undoubtedly more powerful than Mjolnir. But still, what's the use if you're not going to aim for the head, Thor? Thor's Wakanda arrival, Avengers Infinity War. And last but certainly not least is Thor's Wakanda arrival from Infinity War. The forces of Wakanda and the Avengers, led by Black Panther and Captain America, were battling against an offensive of Outriders, led by the Black Order, Thanos' supervillain army that aided him in his hunt for the Infinity Stones. The Black Order was invading Wakanda to retrieve the Mind Stone, which had been residing in the android Vision's forehead. Both sides suffer significant casualties, but at one point, the Avengers and company are really taking a beating. They're simply outnumbered and overpowered. Black Panther, Captain America, and Banner have all fallen to the ground, barely able to defend themselves from the ceaseless attack. Things ain't looking good. And that's when the Bifrost Bridge beams down from the sky, and we see the newly forged Stormbreaker get to work, cutting through the endless sea of Outriders with ease. Thor, Rocket, and Groot emerge from the bridge, and Thor shouts, "Bring me Thanos!" as he charges into battle. It still gives me chills. Just a heads up for those of you wanting to visit the beautiful Wakanda, though it's supposedly in East Africa, it's not a real place. But it was inspired by Nigeria, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Ghana. And there you have it, our selections for the best Thor scenes of all time. Obviously, there's so many other incredible scenes that we simply didn't have time to include, but we have plenty more episodes of RT Essentials coming your way, so I'm sure we'll get there eventually. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Ellis, and Thor, you can go ahead and keep Stormbreaker. I'll handle Mjolnir. It's actually pretty light. Or I'm just ripped.